click like and share and subscribe to the channel and activate the bell button, because to get you everything new from us, the movie starts in a night fighting field, and there will be one. His name is Carter, fighting with someone and beating him, and the audience and the people around him are training on the winner. And when a woman named Frankie entered the place and asked about Carter, she told her, he's the one who's playing in front of you, and broke the man in front of him. So she kept watching. After a while, when Carter finished playing, the one in front of him is aside from outside for a new defect called Wood Dalton. Dalton entered the arena quietly and decided to be the next player for Carter. But Carter, just as he saw Dalton's face, knew all his past, because he is very well known. And therefore he withdrew, claiming what happened was impossible. He can't play with Dalton. And that was it. Dalton won without even fighting and took the bet money and walked away. Then one of the audience stabbed him with a knife in his side because he lost the bet because of him. Anyway, Dalton, even though he could literally end this man, he left him and started to treat his wound. While he is treating himself, suddenly Frankie showed up. Frankie knew Dalton was from a city called Florida Keys. This city has a region called Glass Key. There's a very large restaurant. This restaurant was in great condition and people come from everywhere. But recently, this locale started seeing a lot of commotion and many thugs started showing up. So she was here to meet Carter and offer him to come and work with her as a bouncer. But when she saw Dalton, she decided to approach Dalton, not Carter. Dalton, to be honest, he was not interested in the job at all. So Frankie told him, I will pay you $5,000 a week, but also I don't care. Frankie gave him her number, and then he went to Dalton. When he took some and walked, he went to stand at the train rod and wait for the train to come to trample it and die and rest. Our struggle is very easy, my friend. He doesn't have money or a house or anything, homeless. But Dalton goes back on at the last moment and decides not to die that easily. So he starts the car and gets away at the right time, and here he decides to accept Frankie's offer. Maybe his life will change, and that's it. The next day Dalton arrived in town, and as soon as he arrived, Dalton met a girl named Charlie who sells books in the bookstore of her father. I love her very much because she was kind with him after that. Her father also came out from the shop, and he is the second. Say hello to Dalton and give him a book as a gift for Dalton. With the book he asked after that about a restaurant here. He doesn't know its name, so his father said to him, Charlie, there's only one cafeteria here called the Roadhouse, and he told him to the place of the restaurant. Or this cafeteria. Really, he took some of them and went to this restaurant first. What do you have to do with the restaurant? Quietly, he ordered a cup of coffee and kept looking at the place and watching everything from afar, so it was literally everything is quiet. But this is because we are in the morning or at night. When the party started, people were breaking each other and the world was completely ruined. But this was normal for me because there was a worker here named Billy who was calming the situation until he came to the place. Because there is someone named Deep Darbo. As soon as he entered, he kept breaking the place and washing on everyone, and no one was able to do it at all. Even by God, he blew it up now and asked him to leave politely. He didn't go, so he went out and said from outside to his place, and literally he kept slapping him and all his men. And he hits them right and left until he broke them all, and because they stayed with some manners, and after he didn't finish them, he took them in Frankie's car and went to take them to the hospital to treat him. And there a doctor named Doctor saw him. Whatever. When I first found that two functions walking went after him and fought with him, that he is not afraid from the government, and he is throwing people and bringing them to the hospital as if he is not his concern, so he made her know that he is not hurting me, except who deserves. Then he told her that the government really is not. He didn't care about anyone in this city, but Arya still let him go. I noticed his abdominal wound was bleeding, so I took him to the hospital for treatment. Then she let him leave. He went back to the restaurant later and sat with Frankie. Frankie gave him the first $5,000 and said, You're officially with us now. They spent the entire day there, and Frankie gave Dalton her deplorable boat so he could spend the night. She warned him about crocodiles in the sea, so he should be careful. After he finished his day, he went to the boat to sleep. Dalton started dreaming and recalling past memories while sleeping. We learned that Dalton was a famous UFC fighter, really professional. Everyone was either in awe or fear of him because of his anger. He woke up again, and those taking care of him now were Laura, a restaurant worker, who is healthy now, as she had brought him food to break his fast. Dalton was thrilled that she brought him breakfast. He sat down eating, happy, feeling that his life was about to change. Finally, he went to Charlie's bookstore and asked her if he could use the computer. For surfing the web, Charlie paused and passed him the computer, but suddenly Charlie encountered a group of Dowmen causing a riot in front of the store, so she went out to threaten them with a stick she had. They filmed each other and walked away, not out of fear from Charlie, but because Dalton showed up and was standing behind her. And he could have hit them. After his men left, he stayed with Charlie and found out she had to work in the library here because her father works several other jobs and she wants to help him earn more. Furthermore, she told him that her mother died when she was young. We were a bit upset about Charlie's situation, but with this situation he said goodbye to her and went to work at the restaurant, and of course, there was a lot of riot and fighting. At the time of calming down, he started to teach Billy, the boy who works here, how to hit and kick people out of the store. He would interfere only when problems are severe, and therefore the matter became comfortable for the workers here and Billy as well. And everyone, even Dalton, started to feel that life here is pleasant, and he began training and work and simplifies himself. And once Dalton visited Billy's friend named Reeve, who used to do boxing in the past, and most importantly, he requested him for Dalton now to work with him as a restaurant guard. He's a countryman, and they remained as countrymen, and Billy is the one who does everything, while Dalton only attends to the difficult tasks they can't handle. But the idea is here. The motorcycle gang led by Del were today in front of the restaurant. It didn't bother Dalton much. He went on to work, and at the end of the night, he returned to the boat and slept. And the whole night he kept dreaming of the old days when he was a world-class boxer. He woke up and went to have breakfast in a restaurant like that, and there he met me, so they were both happy to see each other because it was very evident they loved each other. They usually sit together and continue their conversation. In the end, I left and walked away. As for Dalton, he returned to his work. At the end of the day, when his work was finished, he took a few belongings and started walking back to the boat. So he was walking back. A car was coming to hit him. He tried to avoid it and it hit his leg. Then it reversed and bumped Dalton forcefully, making him fall into the sea. Dalton, my friend, turned out to be alive and nothing happened to him, so he came back to the boat and stayed there forever. Dalton knew he was the one who planned all that had taken place that day. That's because he wanted to kill him in an accident. But since it didn't work for him, he's going to kill him right now with the weapon in his hand. Dalton didn't shake at all. He hit his tail and threw it in the water. So literally, the crocodile comes now and eats the tail, and we get rid of it. The next day, Dalton remained like this with himself. Knowing that Del surely has many people behind him, he didn't understand what was so special about Frankie's restaurant that so many people like this come to make thugs in it to stop the place from working. So she went to Tarek and had her show him a map of the city on the internet so that he could see if his Dilo was dealing drugs through the sea here. But why is this impossible? In fact, I was surprised then. What exactly do they want anyway? Anyway, Dalton finished with Charlie and went to work. He was leaving before someone told him to ride in the car with me, because my boss, Ben, Branded, wants you urgently. Ride. And what is it that will shoot you? As soon as he saw that this man was threatening him, he literally broke his fingers and left him lying on the ground and walked away. When his fingers were broken, he actually returned to driving him between Brandt and Brandt. By the way, he would also be a leader. Dale and his men, the important thing we understand from their exchange is that Brandt is trying to clear Frankie's place so he can build a grand resort for wealthy individuals. He needs to do it because his father is in jail and owes a lot to many affluent people. He wants to repay all of this money. He plans to construct this resort using the funds of these rich people who originally took a lot from them. But Frankie is the only one left in the area, and she doesn't want to leave. As such, the project is not ready to proceed. The significant concern now falls on Brandt's father, who continues to taunt him as news reached him in prison that Brandt doesn't know how to deal with Dalton. Therefore, he decided to take matters into his own hands. What did he do? He spoke with a man named Knox. Knox is a mentally challenged, yet strong garbage man who is also a retired fighter, so dealing with him isn't an easy task. Anyway, around this time she came to me in her old engagement small boat. Now she found Dalton to take him on a trip to do some sightseeing. In fact, Dalton went out with her and he was delighted. Literally, they spent the entire day in the middle of the sea and they were quite content. However, on the other hand, Knox finally arrives at the place where Brandt resides. He will lightly hit him and say, "This is from your father." Then your father told him, "Order me to come here." Then he said to him, "Brandt, sorry, give me the last chance to try with him quietly because we don't want to make a messy situation." Knox agreed greatly on this because he knew that he will fail 100% anyway. After Dalton and Aaliyah spent some enjoyable time at sea, in the end, she returned to the boat that he was living in. As she was walking away, she saw that there were 2 policemen who took Dalton away. The 2 policemen said to Dalton, "The mayor wants to be merciful to you." Dalton was in their patrol car with them. Along with this, there was a severed piece and a crown. The mayor got in and sat with Dalton in the patrol car. The mayor said to Dalton, "I work with Brandt and consequently you need to leave the city and go or I will end you." Dalton at this moment didn't agree to just go away, so the mayor took him out of the patrol car. The mayor was about to shoot him and kill him, but suddenly Elia interfered, took Dalton away from her father and left with him. The mayor is Elia's father. She knows that he is unfortunately her father and she detests him very much because he used to work with Abu Baran. Before he went to jail and even afterwards, he continued to do all sorts of wrong things like drug smuggling with his son. We were shocked by this, but he insisted on not leaving. The problem was, at this time, men who worked for Brent came to the shop owned by Charlie and her father with gasoline with the intention to burn it down. Honestly, we didn't exactly do something, but we will see what happens. The important thing is, the last night he went to the restaurant and today, why is Brandt there? Brent said, "I found many of your videos online and I learned from them that you have the worst reputation as a fighter in life. Your reputation worsened particularly after you killed someone in Iraq once, and since then you have completely stopped this and became Atef Brandt after he completely gassed it, took some and left." By the way, he was waiting for Knox, so he told him, "Brandt, Just go in and finish him. Knox took all his men, went to Brand, and actually entered the restaurant. From here on, all you could see was light breaking everything, making people unhappy and causing a big mess. Here they tried to get Billy and Reef to get him out of here, but it's very hard to beat them. At this moment, a huge chaos occurred all over the restaurant, and all people were beating each other. Dalton was sitting quietly, not willing to interfere at all, until Knox kept calling him. Finally, he showed up before him, and both of them started to fight. Knox was extraordinarily strong. It's not normal, my friend. And he also had his men with him, succeeding in overpowering Dalton. Knox continued to hit him. The strange part was that every time Dalton fell, he would get back on his feet, as if nothing just happened, until Dalton realized that he was beaten up so much, he simply picked something and walked away. Dalton went to the boat, and when he needed to, he decided to leave the city for good. At that time, Frankie approached him, surprised that he was leaving, and asked, "What are you scared of, or why?" He responded, "Yes, I'm terrified, not afraid," then simply walked away from her. He was on his way out of the city, and passed by the store owned by Charlie and her father. He was taken aback when he saw the whole store was burned down, and neither Charlie nor her father was there. Someone there coughed, so he knew they were taken to a hospital since they were harmed by Dalton. At this moment, he was extremely upset because Charlie was just an innocent child who didn't have anything, so he turned around. He spoke and decided to take revenge on each other now, and headed to the location of Brandt's assistant. When he saw him, he said, "Did you receive the message and got scared?" He responded, "Yes, you know I was about to leave. Because I was really scared, I feared that I would lose control over my nerves. Because at that time, I was about to do things I don't really like, and a lot of people would get hurt. But you guys pushed me to this point." Immediately, my friend, he hit him like a punch with all he had got and threw him into the water. Eventually, the man died of strangulation after what happened. Dalton met one of Brandt's men who was actually nice. Dalton knew he was winning this battle, so Dalton asked him about Brandt. He responded, "I don't know anything about Brandt except that Brandt will receive a large sum of money from investors tomorrow at dawn. The money is to build a resort." But Dalton didn't pay much heed to his words and returned to the boat again. Throughout the night he kept dreaming. He dreamt of his past memories, particularly about the time he killed his friend during a fight when he was a known fighter. Usually he woke up from sleep, would put the body of Brandt's assistant in ice and carry it with him, and then went to wait at the beach. And there, why is there? A helicopter arrived and delivered money to one of the officers who were working with the mayor and Brandt, along with Dalton. Behind this officer, after taking the money, they grabbed a bucket and hit him on the head, making him fall over. When he woke up, this officer grabbed his gun, hit Assistant Brandt's body with it. "I'm going to dress you up," he told him, before killing him, leaving him there, taking the money, and fleeing. Immediately afterward, he rang the cops and told them there was an officer who had just killed someone by the beach, then hung up and returned to his boat. At the boat, he continued to work with amounts of dynamite. Meanwhile, the mayor approached him. The mayor informed him that Brandt had kidnapped his daughter for the stolen money, and he came to Dalton because he wanted assistance. He knew Dalton had stolen the money and wanted to quickly return it to Brandt and get Aaliyah back. Dalton agreed to help, saying, "I will get the money and call you." The mayor then left. After some time, Dalton knew where Brandt was and fast-tracked Aaliyah's ex-fiance's boat, or rather, he sped away because he took it against his will. The crucial point was he took the boat, and when he reached Brandt's ship, he tied the boat to it. He then went to meet Brandt, who was originally sat next to the mayor. "Mayor, you seem like you don't believe your daughter got kidnapped." "Actually, she wasn't kidnapped at all. I can't help but laugh at you. Because Breen told him no, I kidnapped her." The mayor is going to be really upset with Breen. Knox brought a boat from far away, quickly got out the remote control and stepped on it, causing his boat to explode. Because he had put dynamite in the boat, which caused a huge explosion, he started sinking the ship and everyone fell asleep very quickly. He started walking around the ship, finishing off any of the Brandt's men until he reached Leah. Currently, she was breaking the ship's glass to escape, so as soon as she came near, the glass broke. They both immediately escaped from her, left the ship, and at that moment, he made her. She had to get into the only boat that was still working and escape from here, and she hoped he was going to catch her, so off she went. She boarded the boat and found Brandt, and immediately he hit her and decided to kidnap her with him. Now he's going to destroy Frankie's restaurant all on his own, while Dalton remains at sea trying to escape. Knox is doing his best to run him over until he couldn't do it anymore. Finally, Dalton was able to board the same boat with him. Then he fell off it, but Knox kept hold of the boat and tried to get back. At this moment, Brandt indicated from a distance that Dalton was coming after him, so Knox with the boat and decided to hit it. At this moment, after two functions, the boat is in front of the boat. Brandt jumped straight, so he rode. Thank God the boat of Brandt. Then he kept hitting it and trying to keep him away from the restaurant, but unfortunately they had already arrived at the restaurant, so they jumped to me and told them before they entered the restaurant. But Brandt hit the restaurant with the boat, and it broke completely at that time. Knox was in charge of getting out of the water and went on the road. He fixed a car and took it and went right away running to the restaurant on the other side. Brandt another deal, but it is completely broken. They are not drunk and try to get rid of him. But when he entered the restaurant quickly, they came to their families, and they kept beating each other, and this time Dalton was angry and decided not to leave this fight, except when he was dead. But they stayed in some of them a lot until Knox grabbed a wood and stuck it in their hands, and then Brandt jumped and kept ordering Knox in an abnormal way that He kills 2 functions, so Knox finished on a brand and then he grabbed a piece of wood, a second, and he is still going to finish on 2 functions. He woke up and took out the wood in his stomach and hit her in Knox, took the other wood he had and kept feeding it until it fell down sitting. The night is over. I have found what I was looking for, observing from the scene of the corpses in front of her. Then the mayor came in on everyone and said to Dalton, "That's it. The game is over. Nobody has won. Leave the city, Dalton, and go. I will hide your papers and no one will accuse you of anything. Don't be scared. The restaurant won't be touched again. This is how it is. No one will touch it anymore." At this moment, Dalton sadly decided to bid farewell to Leah and leave. The next day comes and we find Frankie coming to the restaurant. Of course, it was completely destroyed, but she was happy. She knew that this time, when it gets fixed, it will stay fixed and be like a palace forever. As for Dalton, he walked a little and was walking while waiting for the bus that would drive him out of town. He saw Charlie outside the city, so he greeted her, bid her farewell, and got on the bus and left. But Charlie's father was in his shop. He was currently fixing it. The bag was packed with large amounts of money. And this is the bag, by the way, that Dalton stole from Brent. He gave it to Charlie and her father to stabilize their situation after all that happened to them. The last thing we would see is Knox destroying everything in the hospital he was in and leaving. He left after finding out that it was a fluke. He was being treated, so he moved from Dalton.
Or not. Or watch the second part of this movie or not. It means what we will see in the future, and that is it. Peace.